I'm a Ondo boy, a creative person, movie buff, and music buff. I take in a lot of information through TV, magazine, books, comic books, and all sorts. Please feel free to ask me any question anytime. Schooled in King's College, UI, and Pan Atlantic. I've worked at Deal Day, DDB, Center Spread, Noah's Ark, and my last place of work was Live Sports. But right now, I'm currently on my own, doing my own business. I hope it gets to the top one of these days. So, yeah, I'm sure you must have seen this ad. This 4 ads, they were written by me. And if the first one wasn't totally written by me, it was a partnership between my senior copywriter and myself. But the remaining 3, this one, all came from my experiences, things that I've learned and things that I know, things that I've learned from people, people that have mentored me and all that. So moving on. Do you guys watch movies? Hello?
Yes, we do.
What kind of movies? Just Nollywood, Bollywood, you know?
Hollywood mostly.
Hollywood.
Yeah, that's for me, Shao.
All right, cool. Who else?
I watch more animations than movies.
Awesome. God bless you for that. Next person. Sorry, who just spoke?
Sharon.
All right, okay. Animation. That's cool. Who else? Hi guys.
Okay, I watch Nollywood and Bollywood movies.
Bollywood. All right. So there's somewhere I'm going with all these questions that I'm asking. If you can see my screen, you'll see I put the movie The Matrix. For me, The Matrix is, it's about the best movie and about the best inspiration I've ever had in my life, because besides it being action, it had a lot of depth. It's every line, every word, every action sequence in that movie probably had reference to different things across the world. I'm going to share this presentation so that you guys can have it. But below here, these are all the references that gave birth to The Matrix. Alice in Wonderland, Greek mythology, the book Necromancer, Akira anime, Ghost in the Shell anime, Hard Boiled a movie, Feast of Legend a movie, the Simulacra and Simulation. It's a philosophy book. Another Hard Boiled, that's a comic book. Then Out of Control, the new biology of machines, social systems, and the economy, and the economic world. It's also a book about technology. Imagine putting all this together to make one movie, and you won't have the slightest clue unless you do your research perfectly. Now, why am I doing all this? As a copywriter or a creative going into the industry, you cannot just be one-sided in life. You cannot just take the approach to say, oh, this industry that you are in, it is just because you went to this school, you grew with this family, you are from this state, and once you go into the creative business, you just want to write from what you know. The truth is this. Creativity or copy or anything about ideas, they are never written, they are assembled, which means that you have to get from here, get from here, get from here, get from everywhere, and you put everything together to be able to answer the brief. At least we're talking about the opportunity in any brief. And the idea is you almost need to know so many things before you can impact and give and put out the opportunities in the brief. All right, so let's look at the meaning of opportunity. Opportunity, in the dictionary, it says a time or a set of circumstances that make it possible to do something. Another one says a favorable juncture of circumstances. Third one says a good chance for advancement or progress. Everything here suggests that it is an opportunity is an opportunity. It is a chance to do something unique. A time set aside to be able to say, I really want to wow, I want to impress, I want to show my skills, I want to show my uniqueness. Hope I'm communicating with you guys.
Yes, you are.
All right, cool. So, before you go into answering a brief, I know it might sound like I'm speaking philosophically right now, but the thing is, before you go into a brief, you need a self-realization. You need to know yourself as a person. You need to be very sure of yourself because you have, imagine a company like Coca-Cola entrusting their creative ideas on your table or your company, and then it lands on your desk. The thing is, it is easy to say, oh, I have an idea, but your ideas are a sum of who you are, what do you love, what do you know about life, or what you know in life, and what your observations are. What are the things that catches your interest? That's how you answer a brief. If you are a Coca-Cola person, it will be difficult for you to handle a Pepsi brief. If you are not a smoker, it will be difficult for you to write about smoking. And when I say not, I don't smoke, but I interact with people that smoke. I study their mannerism. That's where the observation comes in. Now, who you are is some people will be like, oh, I'm a born-again Christian. Because of that, I cannot move around with people that smoke. Now, everybody in your life right now, at this point in time, everyone is an opportunity for you to tell a story. Everyone is an opportunity for you to handle a brief. A lot of the ads, like the ones I showed you earlier, all those stories are from things that I've witnessed or I've experienced before in my life. And it is the more real it is, the better it is for you to connect with the next person. All right, let me move on. Now, you cannot produce what you do not know. That is the summary of everything I've said so far. You cannot produce what you do not know, which means you need to open your mind. You need to be open-minded. You know, I know we're in a place where there is a divide in the world right now. You know, if this was America, we'd be talking about black and white. In Nigeria, we're talking about Christians, Muslims, and we even forget that there are traditionalists in this world. That means that as a brand, your brand is communicating to everyone. They're not communicating to only Christians, they're not communicating to only Muslims, they're not communicating to pagans. That's why you would see Christmas Day, they'll say, Merry Christmas to all my fellow Christian brothers. During Salah, they'll say, Barakah de Salah to my Muslim brothers and sisters. And as a brand, as a person who answers creativity, you must not see any line. You must see everybody as an individual. Be open-minded to be, because that is the only way you are able to communicate and sell a brief properly. Now, I said you have to be adventurous, go places, parties, experience the nightlife, experience street clubs, experience, you know, like I've never stepped into a mosque, but I have walked past a mosque and looked inside to be able to ask, what is going on here? I know their sitting arrangements. I know what I see on the wall. You don't necessarily need to be a Christian to know about Christianity, or Muslim to know about Islam and all those kind of things. So basically, I feel you need to be adventurous about life. Then the middle idea here says, understand the devil. How many of us watch horror movies?
We do.
Good. Now, in horror movies, in the situation where there are, let's say someone has been possessed by a demonic entity, the first thing the pastor or the reverend father says, he needs to know the name of the demon before casting it out. You understand?
Yes.
So that means that every time you get a brief, you need to know not just the brand, you need to know the people behind the brand. You need to know the client service person, you need to know the brand manager, you need to know the MD's mentality. Now, there was a time when I was working with DDB. I was working on MTN then, and there's a MTN campus store they do for young people in universities. And I was planning one of the events, and now they asked me to come up with ideas for this event. Now, the event was meant to happen on the 31st of October. Who knows the significance of 31st of October in the US?
Halloween.
Good, God bless you. So, and this thing was going to happen in the last week of October. So I suggested that why don't we tell the youths all across the universities to dress like their favorite Nigerian superstars since it's Halloween? Why don't we have them dress like Whiskey, Tiwa Savage, Banky W? Imagine Whiskey is singing on stage and you are dressed as Whiskey. It will be a very nice photo op at the end of the performance. So at the end, that's kind of situation. You have a place where you and your idol, you're dressed the same. You can take pictures. It's something you can brag about. But long and short, when after presenting the idea, one of the brand managers looked at me and said, "Don't you know the marketing manager is a pastor? He will never approve that kind of thing." Now, I didn't have that information, but it was a solid idea. And my defense was that, sir, you being a pastor does not affect this idea. We are presenting this idea to young people in universities. They would love it. Now we are taking Halloween and refurbishing the idea of Halloween. That is making young people dress like their idols. They're not dressing like demonic beings. They're not dressing like devilish entities, but they are dressing like Tiwa Savage, Wizkid, Banky W. And that's a solid idea. But hey, they didn't pass it. So like I said, the second, you need to understand the devil. That is, you know the person you're presenting to, and you know that, oh, you need to be able to command that situation. Then you need to know your limits. I am a very eccentric, push the button, don't, pardon my French, blow. So this industry is a kind of industry where they would say, think outside the box. But when you think outside the box, they'll still tell you, that's not how we do it, which is, it's very conflicting because you are telling someone to come into an industry that says, think outside the box, but you're still telling them to still go back into the box. So as much as you can do that, if you know your limits, there's always a crack in between the wall, and you're able to find that crack and you're able to sell your idea in your brief. Now, the next set of slides are probably will annoy a lot of people. That's I will annoy your belief system because it's going to be poking holes at some of the tropes that a lot of today's young people, including myself, I do. But hey, that's why we're here. Now, as before you handle a brief, before you go into the creative business, don't just read, don't just read self-help books. Some people will be like, oh, who stole my chicken soup? Why did the cookie crumble? The thing is, the people who wrote those books, they got ideas from things like this. If you read wide enough, you would understand thinking process. And one of the best things about handling a brief, it is having command of different facets of life. You must read books. Forget about iPads, or if it's ebook, you can read it. But there is something, there's Harry Potter here, there's Lord of the Rings, there's Ant-Man, comic books, and there's Dan Brown. I'm not saying read this particular books, but read books from different genres. That's my point. Now, a lot of people say, if I ask some people and say, did you read the Harry Potter books? They say, no, but I watched the movie. There is a way that a writer thinks that when he writes it down, even the greatest filmmaker can never capture it. Has anyone here seen The Lord of the Rings?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, we
All
have.
right. So there's a scene in The Lord of the Rings, I don't know if you can remember, when Frodo found, the first time he saw the ring, that
Yes, on
Gandalf,
the floor.
on the floor, God bless you, that Gandalf told him to pick it up. And then
Yeah.
Gandalf left the Shire to go and research about the ring. Now,
Yes.
when Gandalf left that town to go and research about the ring, the time he went to research the ring was 25 years. But in the movie, they made it look like he left to research the ring, then he came back 3 days after. Now, there were some details in that space that I feel if you do not read the book, you will never get it. You watch the movie, you will love it, you will cry, and all the emotions will be felt. But as a writer, as a creative person, you must know the why behind the why. Let me move on. Now, a lot of young people today listen to Drake because they believe it's the face of the 2000s. They believe it's the face of rap for today. Drake, the Migos, this new age trap stars. Unfortunately, Drake is not. And as a creative person, you must learn to listen to people like Common, people like Eminem, people like Jay-Z, people like Kanye West, not the new Kanye West, the old Kanye West, because there is a pattern of storytelling that these guys have. And in that pattern of storytelling, they always put it in their works. Now, everybody thinks what makes Jay-Z a great rapper is because two things. Maybe he's married to Beyonce, or maybe because he's the richest amongst the rappers right now. But what makes Jay-Z a great person is, and I'm going to say it now, please listen. From the first time, so he grew up in a very poor neighborhood in New York. And the thing is, I think a lot of creative people come from a very poor background because they have to double up in thinking and double up in mindset. Now, what happened to Jay-Z was he loved writing lyrics. He grew up with listening to rappers of his own age. So he loved writing. But because they were poor, he would write on pieces of paper and he would write on newspaper backs. And if you imagine writing on a newspaper, that means you need to use a marker, or you need to write between the lines to be able to see your own writing. But one day he realized that every time he wrote stuff, the mom will write either trash them away or he won't find the paper later on. And imagine writing what you think is the dopest lyric ever, but you are unable to find it. You'll be angry. So he thought about something. From where he used to work as a kid to the house, he started rhyming and memorizing at the same time. He would rap and memorize that rap. So he had to ditch papers because he couldn't find them and they were always littering the house, and so the mom would have to throw it away. So he had to memorize his lyrics. So he did that over and over and over and over again till he no longer needed writing on a piece of paper anymore. So that means from Jay-Z's first album to the last album that he released, he has no lyrics written on paper. He goes into the mic, he goes into the studio, and he raps. That's why they say, that's what they call one take. He goes into the studio, he raps it once. If you Google Jay-Z studio sessions or on YouTube, you would find situations where every producer he has worked with, like, the man is a monster. He just came in here, rap, no corrections, and then he left. Then he sent me the chorus and said, find someone who has a great voice that can sing to this. Like, that is the difference between Jay-Z and Eminem. Eminem writes. So imagine a Drake that composes lyrics on his mobile phone. There is a clear difference in ingenuity and creativity there. So don't just look at what is trending and prop it and hype it up. Look at other people too, people that they've called great, people that they've been highlighted for some reasons. Now, I put Common here because he's a poet. If you're looking for a rapper that actually does rhythm and poetry, which is the full meaning of rap, Common is the one that does it from the first album to the last album. So don't just listen to Drake. listen to other rappers, understand why some people are who they are before narrowing down and assuming that Drake is the most person you should be following this time. The next is, I know I'm going to offend a lot of women here, but hey, we're learning. Don't just listen to Beyonce. Trust me. I feel a lot of people cheat themselves off creative works if they only just narrow down and say Beyonce is the one they want to listen to. Beyonce is a sum of all the hard work she has done in the past. But if you want to listen to the people that are speaking creative in this new generation, listen to people like Caesar, Now, what's her name? Kilani and Seed. They tell good stories that when you're writing a story, when you're writing a script or handling a creative idea, some of this situation that they've painted, because they tell very interesting stories with their music. Beyonce right now has risen to the point of an activist. But these people, when you want to listen to the street language of the new voices, these are the people I feel you should be listening to. So not just Beyonce, there are other queens out there. Next, watch music videos. My God, the amount of ideas I have gotten from watching foreign music videos, it is outstanding. Because unlike Nigerian music videos where it is just the musician and like 300 women dancing, these people come up with very creative ideas. If you can, please, this particular one that I'm highlighting here, this rocks up. And the title of the song is Ipo. If you can, go on YouTube, check this video out. It is my best music video ever. It is very simple. It is a picture in a picture in a picture. That is the beginning of the video and that is the end of the video. And they found a creative way to move from one picture to another picture to another picture to another picture. And every time, one of the things about handling a brief is always about technique. Your technique can be the selling point. Your technique can be the reason why the manager of the MD of the brand you're working on loves your script. Sometimes it's not about the English. Sometimes it's about the ideas you slide into the script or the creative work. So please watch music videos. I would say from now on, narrow the amount of Nigerian music videos you watch and increase the amount of foreign music videos you watch, because these guys, I don't know why they do it, but they for free, they give out ideas. So please indulge yourself in that. Also, someone mentioned here that she watches anime. It's not always about Frozen or Moana or, there are so many stories out there that are telling you different things. I've never seen Naruto before, but with the amount of animes that I watch, my God, you'll be surprised. You'll be writing a story or handling a brief, and some of these ideas will just fall out and jump onto you. Next. Yeah, now this. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about my upbringing. I grew up in a compound in Obalende, that's Lagos Island, and the next person beside me was a woman from Delta States. The way she speaks, I cannot remember a word, but it sounded very somehow cryptic in my own ears as a kid. The next person after that was a woman from Ijebu. She was Muslim background. The other person beside the woman from the Muslim woman was an Igbo family. They had a restaurant that was the beginning of the house, then the back of the house was their own house where they lived. After that was a man from Mali. The man from Sudan. His wife was from Mali. His name was Moses. He's dead now. And the man was very black. It was later I learned he was from Sudan, so everything made sense. And his wife was very light. She looked Tanzanian, but she was from Mali. Now, after that, we have another person from Delta, then another person from Ibadan, then the last side of the house was of the compound were Hausa people, core Hausa people. Then after that, we have the house very close to ours. They were from, I think, Osun State, and then ours was directly in the center. Now, I cannot grow up in this kind of compound. Imagine I was born in that compound and I spent 10 years of my life in that compound. I cannot grow up in that kind of compound, in that kind of upbringing, and have bias towards Muslim, or have bias towards Hausa people, or have bias towards Igbo people, or have bias towards Ijebu. Like, these are people that when I say, who are your family members? I'll first look at my nuclear family and before looking at the extended and the people that I grew up with. In fact, I'm closer to some of these people than my cousins and nephews. Now, that is how I feel we need to treat religion. Don't just read Bible because you're a Bible. I have an Enkanka Bible in my house. I have a Quran in my house. I have my own Bible. But the thing is, you need to understand because we are, okay, I worked with Noah's Ark a while back, and Noah's Ark handled Indomie. Indomie is from Dufil. Origin is from India. So imagine you're talking to an Indian person, and maybe this Indian person is not Muslim, is not Christian, but a Buddhist. And you would have to communicate on their own level. You need to let them know that, you identify with them, but you're still here. That is the only way you can market. You cannot have any bias, regardless of your upbringing. Well, nobody needs to care about what your beliefs are. One of the best books I read as a kid was Jehovah's Witnesses, The Watchtower. And I say it's one of the best comic books I've ever read in my life. I use comic lightly because back then, I didn't really care about the stories. It was about how they were drawn and the people I could see. And it got me hooked. And from then on, I started reading about them. And I know I have a friend who is, Jehovah Witness. You must always identify with these things when you have a brief. Always skew your mind to a particular set of people. That can expand your mind when handling a brief. Next. Now, there's an astrophysicist in the US called Neil deGrasse Tyson. He says, when you know how to think, it empowers you far beyond those who only know what to think. Some people only think in a straight way. Some people think in a squiggly line. If you see the depiction of creative people online, it is never a straight line. It is a squiggly line because we know how to think. What to think is you and what you're thinking. How to think is you applying different aspects of knowledge and ideas, cultural beliefs and background, putting them together, and that's how to think. Am I still communicating with you guys?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm going to play a video now. I hope you guys can hear, and then from there, let me just play first of all. Okay, that's one. Let's move to the next one. Sorry.
Please bear.
Cool. So two, these two videos here, there's something that makes you ask, how did they come up with this idea, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes,
how
sir.
do you tell the brand manager or marketing manager at Mercedes-Benz that you want to talk about stability in your car? That means when your car is driving to a place like Aja or the bad side in Apapa, that you will sit comfortably and you will not be going through bumps. How do you pitch that idea? And how do you tell them that we want to use chicken? How do you want to, like, this is what we're going to be doing? We're just going to be wearing gloves. You're not going to see the products. You're just going to, have music and the chicken head dancing. Now, it's how do you even come up with that idea before you even say it? How do you come up with that idea? If you do not know that that situation will be funny or appealing to the particular demography, if you don't know that kind of knowledge, I'm sorry, you cannot come up with ideas like that. How do you know that, oh, so okay, Christmas is about giving. What if we have a vending machine that once someone buys a bottle of Coke, a balloon jumps out and goes to give someone a gift outside? How do you come up with things like that? It is from all these angles. You watch a situation, or you watch Harry Potter, there is the traveling cupboard where you go into one cupboard, you come out the next cupboard. I'm not saying that that's where the idea came from, but that, for me, that's the closest in idea. I could say, okay, if I want to come up with something like this is what I would do. You understand? So that's why sometimes you need to read wide. You can never narrow your minds in things like this. All right, so before the brief comes, you need to, I know a lot of you would like to join agencies or work with marketing companies and all that, but before you join any agency, it is in your best interest to research the agency, know the people that work there, know the kind of people that work there. I know by now you should be able to say, this company, they are the best when it comes to telecommunications. This agency, they're the best when it comes to advertising, food. This agency is the best when it comes to beverage. You know that you should be able to identify, because I know that a lot of us right here, some of us are following Whiskey, some of us are following Burna Boy, some of us are following Davido on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, every other platform we are. So why wouldn't you follow all the agencies in the world, not just Nigeria alone, so that you'll be able to identify where, and you'll be able to tailor, first of all, you'll be able to tailor your mind and identify how you want to grow in the creative business. Because all these videos I'm showing you, they're from things that I have learned from other people that are like, oh, this guy did this guy did this, and that kind of thing. So you should be able to research these things more. Let me go more into that. So there are 3 cadres of handling briefs. I learned this when I was at DDB. First of all, there is the client's brief. That's when you get a brief, how do you interpret it? There is one that you write for the client. When the client says, give me A, you give them A. Now, because you work under a creative director or you work under a creative boss that must approve your idea, you must also target your briefing your handling of the tackling of the brief according to what your creative person, your creative line manager likes. And then there was the third one is yours. Are you guys listening to me?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. We are.
I'm not saying that one brief should answer all three, but it will make that brief very unique. If that one, your translation of one brief can impress the client, impress your line manager, and impress yourself. But my training is when you are given a brief, give them three options. Three options, one for the clients, one for your creative director, and one for yourself. And I'm going to show you translation of that going forward. Now, on the client side, you have the client, the person that comes to meet you. That person brings the brief or sends the brief via mail or email to your company. That person basically works under a marketing manager or a brand manager, and there's always an expatriate who is often probably the MD or CEO, but someone that is an internationally known, what do you call it? Internationally known idealist who comes to help reshape the company from an international point of view. And then there's the MD. The MD is the money man, the guy who runs, or the CEO, the person who runs the business. Now, when you must know these people. You must, like, fast track to the story I told about when I was working on MTN and I was talking about Halloween and all that. I didn't know the man was a pastor. But at that point in time, if I had that information in mind, one of my greatest defense was they should call in a gospel musician for that concert so that someone had to dress like Sinachi or one of these gospel artists too. But you need to know these people. Look, first of all, you get the brief, go on their website, understand who they are. If you can trace them on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, follow them just so that you can get a sense of their personality. Because this is the reason why. If you write a script that any of these four members, if you write a script that they love, when you are presenting it, once you get to the idea that they recognize or they identify with, they start to smile. And when you're presenting a brief, when you're presenting an idea and you realize the MD is smiling, in your mind, just say jackpot and build on it. So, sometimes they'll say, because of those that are shy, I'm actually a very shy person too, but when you are presenting, they tell you, look above their head, don't look into their faces. Even one of your colleagues say, when you're presenting, look at me. Sometimes, once you get comfortable with your presentation, look at the people you're presenting to. Once you can find that expatriate, that MD, that brand manager, that client service person that understand or is nodding or is smiling or at your presentation, key in on that person, because what you have just done is you will direct all the attention to that person, and everybody wants to know where the joke is. By listening to that person's reaction, their defense mechanism comes down, and what you just do is once you get to the punchline where you have to now tell them the pun or the joke in your script or your idea, you realize that the minute that first person starts to laugh, they are all smiling, and you've broken a barrier. It has helped you win 4 people or 5 people or 10 people's hearts. There was a script, there's a colleague of mine, former colleague of mine, is also here. Toi Balogun is one of the guys who will be speaking at the event as well. There was something, we went to present an idea one time at Airtel, and I'm sure you'd have seen the script. You should have seen the ad. It's an ad where a guy was at the pool side and was trying to tap another guy's Wi-Fi. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yes, I've seen.
Yeah. So when we're presenting that script, the catch joke there was click and die. So the guy said, "Are you Mr. So? Are you Mrs. So? Are you?" When we presented the idea, the client service person behind that job did not get it. We presented to her like 4 times. She said it's not going to work. Nigerians will not like it. People will not understand it. But then she now did something. She said, you know what, let me call my other colleagues. Let's see if they will get it. And, we never know. So she called their guys. Then she made the mistake of calling their IT guys. When she called the IT guys, just when every other person was sitting down, the IT guy looked at the screen, he saw the script, and then he started laughing. When he started laughing, she looked at him and said, "What's that?" I said, I used to do this when I was in school now. She said, "Do what?" She said, when you buy modem, don't you change the name of your modem to something that will scare people away? The minute he said that, every other person in that room, they were biased. They now remembered, he said his own password then was, what's the name of this popular virus? Trojan. He said his own was Trojan. The minute he mentioned Trojan, every other person said, that's true. My own was this, my own was this. So when we presented the script for like the 10th time, the entire room was laughing. They loved it, and that was how we got our approval. So imagine because we say, oh, this woman is a little bit stuck up and stuff. So let's not go into the idea of naming passwords or naming Wi-Fi. We would not have gotten that idea done. But let me show you an example of a client-related advert.
My sweetheart, I carry my private jet to airport, then they tell me, say, I never fit take off. That's a problem. Baby, don't rush, relax and talk to me. Sweetheart, me upon that thing. Don't tell what I get. No. Baby, God, call every time. Tell me, you dey thief my money, have you? Tell me, see, sir, chief calling officer. Now, what do you do this? The boy don't take my money. See how he burn my pot. Man, you just give me plenty credit. You don't lie. Airtel Smart Connect. Every time when you go 100 naira, they must cash you 500 naira on top. 250 naira to make call. The other 250 naira will give you 50 megabytes of data. Man, make I tell you one thing when I create a big video. I always recharge before the time where I was supposed to end. But this one no be jara, that over jara.
All right. So if you can look to the side here, the client brief. This is what the client used as example when they were discussing the brief. Your job is to show them who the copywriter is or the creative person is. Now, the video we just watched, the client came, we have given them so many examples, but the client said, no, this is what I want. This is what I want. This is what I want. This person will say this person will now say this, and this person will say this. I remember it was around 12 in the midnight when we wrote the script. And everybody was just listening to the brand manager speak and was saying, this is what I want. And eventually it gave birth to this video. I know I wrote it, but I won't count it as one of my top 10 or top 5 because you can see the comedy died in between the conversation. This one would talk for like 5 minutes and I'll talk for 5 minutes. Then this will now talk. Now there's a difference between drama scripts and comic script. It's meant you have a comedian that is not doing the job of a comedian. Is meant to render lines. You now have supporting actors that are just going to speak briefly, but then have to talk long story. At the end of the day, you will now have to look at the scrum, the tags that was scrolling by to understand what they are trying to sell. And this, like I said, it's not one of my top, but it's something that I use as an example of what you should not do when writing a brief, especially when a client says, this is what I want. Your job as a creative person is to be able to convince your creative director, your manager, your line managers, and let them know that, see, this thing can either be like this or can be the way the creative person conceives of it. Let me make it. All right, so also another thing you must do is you need to know your own guys, your teammates, your client service person. You need to pally with your strategy guy. You need the members of your creative team. You must pally with them well because they are the ones that would see a reference video from another ad and send to you in the middle of the night, or send it to your WhatsApp, or CC you on Twitter and tell you that, oh, you should check out this video. I remember when I was at DDB, we used to do something. The creative director will see a new commercial, and then he'll call everybody to come and watch it. And when we all get the lesson, the morals, the interest, we get everything at the same time. After then, we'll now discuss it. And because we've discussed it, we are on the same creative wavelength. That means if I get a new idea, I share with my guys. So I get a new joke, I share with my people. And it's a, collaborative competition, but you guys are growing at the same level. That's another way that your brief can be very impactful and your brief can be amazing. So here, this is the suggestion your creative director gives you or discusses with you. Whenever you're working with the creative director, when he says, imagine, see that description he gives you during the imagine. When he's telling the story that he's telling you to imagine, never go back to your creative director with that same story. If he gives you 1 + 1, you must add your own +1, making it 3. Because what you're trying to tell your creative director is, I have an idea, or I can always make it better, which will always make you a star in their eyes. Because if you return the same ideas to him, then he could have just written the script himself. You understand? So let me go into the video that tells this. Oh, sorry.
Tu m'en entends?
Okay. What do you guys think about that ad? Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, so what do you guys think about that ad?
I actually like it. Informative.
Those are the kind of ideas that when you collaborate, because that could have been a Glow ad, could have been an MTN ad, could have been, and it comes from creative collaboration. You can write your story from any angle. So that's another. Now, this is where the part, you guys as creative people, this segment is one that actually concerns you the most. Whenever you get a brief, your creative director is not your target. Is not the person that should determine. What they do is the creative director polishes the script to look nice. The MD of the clients, that's the MD at the brand that you're working for, what they just need to do is they need to know that this brief, this job that you have done, this idea that you have brought to us, it is impactful and it has the potential to give us money. The real people that you are talking to is the guy who is going to spend 10 naira to buy that product. So every time you write your ad, have your creative team members on one side, have the clients on one side, but your main focus should be, what will the person outside there, the person on the streets, the woman in the kiosk, the young boy that is going to go to work and tell the story to his friend, what will they think about your ad? So this is the one that proves and determines your stay in this business. This should be a copywriter, or this should be your own response to the brief. You must always think outside the box. Forget the people you are working with. Forget all these guys. Know them, understand them, but let me show you the video. Let me not just talk too much. All right.
Arrangements between intra-governmental organisations and the hydrographic conveyance of domestic produce, primarily by sea.
We are in agreement on this motion.
Before turning to the items on the agreed agenda, the Assembly would like to draw attention to the This committee duly takes note of the aforementioned.
I mean, they're just trying to sell ice cream. You get, like, and the idea says goodbye serious. So, you know, I'm sure that if I had gotten a brief and I say, oh, we have this range of ice cream that we want to sell, how would you sell it? I'll think of children, I'll think of young people. I will not, it will take me a while to think that people that are handling serious business, they need a break. They need something to relax the nerve. They need something to tell them that, oh, I'm done with all this stress. Let me take ice cream to cool off. And this is every time when I saw the first time I saw this ad, and today that I'm watching it again, every time I watch it, I get the same reaction. You must always write an ad that will give you a priceless reaction. You must always come up with creativity that will always make you feel love or joy the first time you saw it. So let me hear your perspective. What do you guys think about this particular one that I just showed you?
I honestly did not expect that.
Exactly. And there is no way, every time you watch it, from the time...
So, hello.
Yes, I'm listening. Go on.
Okay, I wanted to say something. I was just penning down my question that after the session I was going to ask. It causes a kind of restriction to one's creativity. For instance, this kind of ad, I don't know if it's going to...
It's going to what?
Sit well with, say, Nigerians, because I don't know, somehow we are kind of flowing in one direction. So this kind of...
Hello? Please, can you repeat that part? I can hear you.
Yes, sir. What did you say?
I can hear you. So speak on.
Okay, so I was talking about our environment and the restriction it brings.
Yeah.
I was saying this kind of advert, it might not sit well with, say, Nigerians, because we feel like, oh, the whole storyline, are they supposed to be doing stuff like that in that kind of gathering? Can't we think of other normal ideas that would not create controversies? So my point is that sometimes the environment restricts what we are meant to put out there. I don't know if you understand.
Yeah, you're perfectly right with that observation. I will tell you now, Nigerian person that would criticize this ad and say it will not work, they are probably thinking of the budget to call those people in to get that amount of crowd. You think about the budget and the people. If you look at that conference, we do meetings, we do board meetings. You understand? So you don't necessarily need to use a global G8 summit type environment. You can use a board meeting. You understand? There are ways, there's always a way around. You understand? But let me carry on and then we'll do the cues later. But I like, if you have any other question, you can throw it in. I'll answer as fast as I can so that we can wrap up. But hey, no problem. Anyhow, I'll shoot. All right. So now, like I said earlier, you always need to understand why the company is sending you a brief. You get. So there is a brand that has developed a product. Let's say Apple was Nigerian. They developed Apple mobile phone and they started selling. And then they, and then they bring a brief towards you. You need to understand why they're doing why the brief is even coming at first. Now, sometimes they will tell you it's a new product or it's an upgrade. So if there's Apple 1, Apple 2, Apple 3, or Samsung this, Samsung that. And sometimes it's always very petty financially, petty to say, oh, want to beat competition, want to claim superiority. Now, if it is a new product or an upgrade, your job as a copywriter or a creative is to make that new product or upgrade seem like the holy grail. You need to make it look like, man, if you are not buying this product, you're going to fire. You must make your ad must make everybody itch to want to get it. You understand? Another one, for the second side, your job as a creative is to make that beef. If their claim is to be superiority or to beat competition, you make that beef similar to Tupac and B.I.G. Like, it's when MTN started using Saka, you understand? And he sang I Don't Pot. Everybody was like, my God, how did MTN do this? You understand? You must be that petty. You must drive that nerve. Because at the end of the day, if you do that kind of thing, if you suggest now, let me show you the I Don't Pot story. The guy that wrote it is a friend of mine. He's a senior colleague, but he's a friend of mine. And that singular idea opened a lot of doors. He's presently a creative director at Insight. And that idea alone gave him all the respect that he's using today. Now, he's building on a lot of that idea. You understand? Now, it's just, so once you can find a killer creative solution to a business, it can run for years, it can run for decades. So your task as a creative, always make sure that your idea one beats, is not, your idea two beats idea one. Idea three must beat idea two. Idea four must beat idea three. And you must always build on your creativity like that. Cheese, you can never be cheesy with your ideas. Please, I beg you. I will show you the basis of cheese, but let's move on. All right, this is another video just to illustrate that a product is not as bad as you see, but you can always make the idea very unique.
Mobile phones are backwards. That's the phones are bad. Older generations of actors are together. Phones are already about the whole sites as backwards. Wait, life was ever without phones? Really? Oh gosh, best avoid that. Turn left. That could have been a disaster. Phone's left here, 0. Friendzone it. Group photo. Another group photo. Which one is it? Phone save lives. Eat this apple, for it is delicious. Damn good. But what?
need more proof? Okay.
I did, tucked into a dream. The city became an empire. Without a leader, Rome will fall.
Oh, 56 endorsements for leadership.
Rome is saved.
Believe this.
I never did a this. Yes, I will. Oh my goodness!
You see, phones are good. And they're even better on the best network for data. 3. Okay.
All right. I want to know your reactions. Guys, I want to hear your reactions.
That was mind blowing. Like, I didn't expect that.
Yep. Yep. That's how it works. That's how it works. Sometimes the plan is just, it's ridiculous, you get. So the thing is, we often see sometimes these people that, these clients with the brand guys, we see them as stock up people that don't have soft spots or comic bones in their body. But we must always show them how far we can stretch a ridiculous idea. What they're just trying to say is phones are good. Phones have saved lives. Phones have done so many things. You get like all the boundaries that sometimes we fail to be able to break in life because we feel they are difficult. You have a mobile phone. We're having this meeting today. We could have all gone somewhere. Some people will travel all the way, come to the island or meet somewhere, and then we'll do the meeting and then we'll have this conversation. It would be nice to have that personal touch, but we're all, I'm sure some people on their bed right now, some people are in their corner right now, some people are just chilling, you know, someone is eating right now and they're still listening to me. You're multitasking, which is the ridiculousness of mobile phone. I'm going to show you another one. But hey, I'm happy you get the idea.
Yeah, just your typical Super Bowl car ad, right? Or a hilarious beer ad. Or whatever ad this is. Whatever. But it's a Tide ad. What? It's a Tide ad. What makes it a Tide ad? There are no stains. Look at those clean clothes. What else would this be an ad for? Diamonds? A gift that lasts for a time. For a cold refreshment. Tide ad.
Fall into the sleep of your
No, Tide. Tide. Meet the all new.
It's a Tide ad. Tide.
So, does this make every Super Bowl ad a Tide ad? I think it does. Watch and see. And Ogan, ladies, is your man the kind of man who would climb the height? I'm in a Tide ad. Nice pants. Get off my horse.
Simple. So remember I said, if it is to beat competition, make sure you beat them in such a way that they can never come back from it. So what Tide have done is, you notice in every ad, everyone is always looking clean. Everyone is always looking fresh. What they are saying is, if you're fresh or you're clean, that means you're using our product. So regardless of any advert you might be watching on TV, from the moment this ad drops, you get, and it was a Super Bowl ad. Imagine, so I'm sure you know what the Super Bowl ad is, right?
Yes, I do.
No, I don't.
Yes, I do.
Whenever they're playing American Football Championship, it's called Super Bowl. Now,
Oh, I don't.
during that Super Bowl, yeah, that's what I'm explaining. During that Super Bowl, there are some brands that have bought slots for Super Bowl ads. So Super Bowl is the American Football Championship that comes up, I think, twice a year or so. I'm not sure. I think it's twice. So what they do is, because it is the most watched show event in America, a lot of product buy slots to advertise their product that time. So what Tide did was they bought the number one slots so that every ad that comes after them will be number 2. Then they now do an ad that suggests that if you are wearing a clean shirt or clean attire in an ad, that means you are wearing a product that was washed by us, and which is a killer. So imagine that year during the Super Bowl, every ad that came after this tie ad was everybody just, the eyes were like, oh, they're wearing a tight shirt. It was washed by Tide. That is how you kill an idea. So sometimes the creativity must blend with strategy. And the strategy is this. Tide bought the first slot during Super Bowl, and then they now use that creativity to tie in all the ads that came after the Super Bowl, after their own Super Bowl ad, to tie everything to sell one product, saying every advert, once the shirt is clean or the attire is clean and fresh, it was washed with a Tide detergent, and it's smooth. It's smooth. The one about the phone is how you sell a new product or an upgraded product like 3G, and the second one is how you beat competition. So we're almost done. Just going to go down there. All right, so here is the truth. Every brand and every product, they want to make impact and they want to make money. So it's the question behind every brief is, every time you get a brief, you read it and your mind should tell you which one is for impact, which one is for money. Sometimes, not every brand wants to make money. Sometimes they might just want to remind you that, oh, we still care. But every brand, while they're saying we still care, the underlying truth is we still want to make money. Your job is to teach the brand to use impact to make money. Impact should not clash with money. Impact can show them how to make more money. Every ad that sells, that is, every ad that makes money, might necessarily not make money. But every ad that is impactful will definitely make more money. Do you guys understand?
Yes, sir, we do.
Yes, sir, we do.
Yes, I will do.
So back to impact and money. You must meet your target at their lowest point of exposure. What I mean by that is not everyone is going to have DSTV. Not everyone is going to have seen a movie. Not everyone is going to have the knowledge that you have. Your idea must meet them at their lowest point. What I mean is, an illiterate should watch your ad and get the idea. But the impact must be high enough that when the illiterate sees the idea, the illiterate will want to buy that product or will want to attach themselves to that product. Let me make this example. When the Apple AirPods, when they came out, it was so unique that I started seeing a copied version of it by drivers, and some people they just want to relate with the fact that me too, I have an AirPod. It's called AirPod. So yeah, me too, I have an AirPod. Whether or not it is the original, the minute you see it in the air, you're like, oh yeah, I'm using an AirPod. So you would see the premium ones, and then you see the ones that are not so premium. But everybody has that mindset. Even you can't go and meet the driver and ask him and say, come, is this fake or original? But what he has done is Apple has released that product, and the person at the lowest pyramid wants to relate with it. That's why a lot of people say Apple is very creative. You understand? They've sold their premiumness to the point where even the guys who we know that can never afford their product are willing to identify with it, even with a fake product. Your idea as a creative person in handling a brief, you must always meet your target at their lowest level of exposure and at their highest point of impact. That's it. So I'm going to share this ad to prove my point.
abiamayé, abiamọ, ọ̀ṣun èmi, ìbàjẹ́ kí ló tóbi kò ní mú ẹ. Ọmọ òní ní kò gbé tí wá kò kéjẹ. Ọmọ òní tí ẹ lọ síbi tó ò lérò. Ní gbogbo ọjọ́ ayé ẹ, ò ní ríbi. Aláìjà, ó ò tiẹ̀ ní rọ́mọ́ rà. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni, ó ò ní kábàámọ̀. Àbí tó máa bá ṣe tó máa pẹ́ bá ìgbé ayé ẹ. Èmi bẹ́ẹ̀ rí pé náà ní bá a. Ọmọ àdùn ẹnu, àbùkù oníkọ̀ ẹ o. Ayé ò ní rí ẹ mú o. Mo sọ fún ẹni tinútinú tẹ. Lọ́lá ọyọ̀ méjèèjì tó fún ẹgbẹ́ àyà. Mo súre fún eré àbùkù ẹ̀. Abiyamọ ayé, abiyamọ ọ̀sùn rẹ̀ fún ẹ. Ó yẹ sáré gbé bàbá wọlé. Ó ti ṣú ara ó ti tọ́ ara kò ní jẹ́ ìyẹn. Wọnú ògo tuntun lọ, Olúwaṣẹ́gun wọnú ògo tuntun lọ. Ó yá wọnú ògo tuntun lọ. Wọnú ògo tuntun ẹlẹ́dàá ni. Ẹ tàmí yín kọ́. Ṣé ìwọ ti rókò tó bẹ̀rẹ̀? Ó ti rí ọ̀sà tó bẹ̀rẹ̀. Ó lè gbẹ́ bí. Àwọn olè ń sọ̀rọ̀ dẹ̀. Lọ́dẹ àtàwọn ọ̀rẹ́ bọ̀ fún ọ̀rẹ́. Ó yá fi sí spíkà. Wọ́n gbọ́ yín. Ní ẹ̀bùn ńlá tó mú mi gbé wá fèmí. Ọlọ́run á ràn yín lọ́wọ́. Ẹ̀yin náà lè ṣerú ẹ̀ pàtàkì.
Get 10 times your recharge value to call and browse.
All right. So I'm sure a lot of us have seen this, right?
Yes.
Yes, we have.
Yes, we have.
Yes, we have.
All right. So
And we can relate to.
Very relatable.
this ad, when it was written, someone in the room, I can't remember who, but it was one of the guys from the client side. They said, but won't Nigerians complain that we are praying, we are sending Christian prayer on air? And I remember someone from the agency side, from our side then, said, are you telling me your mother never prays for you? You understand? Now, I remember someone asked the question about the ice cream ad. If I use this as an example, I can ask you, are you telling me that those serious people don't take ice cream? You understand? The minute we asked the person that question, she just said, oh, that's true. Because every mother prays for every child, whether boy or girl. Even to the point of fathers, they pray. Everybody's parents prays for them. You understand? So you must always meet your target at their lowest point of exposure with the highest impact possible. Let me move on. All right. So I'm about rounding off now. At least I know that one for sure. You have to take ownership of your brief, because when the brief is good, it is the agency that wrote it. But when the brief is bad, it is your fault. So what you must always make sure that the brief, the story or the idea is well written or is so good. Now, I'm going to show you an example of what happens when the opportunity falls in the hands of the wrong person. That's how you know in an ad agency, sometimes your destiny is in the hands of someone else. But you have to make sure that your destiny remains in your own hands by controlling it. So this ad, what had happened was, I had seen the chicken, the one I played, the one about the chicken. And it occurred to me that we have never used an animal in any ad in Nigeria before. We've never used an animal. And I'm like, it's as a way of thinking outside the box. Why don't we use an animal? To be very, very interesting to see. So I suggested an idea. But after suggesting the idea, the creative director did not handle it properly. He stepped in, and then during the editing process of the idea, he mixed the entire stories, and the ad kind of fell on its head. So this is what came out of it.
Dial *141# to enjoy the richness of real data when you watch videos online. Enjoy non-stop gaming thrills with real data. Feel the effect of real data when you download movies online. and experience the rush of live streaming with real data powered by lightning-fast smart speedos from Airtel. Dial star 141 hash to enjoy freezer on.
All right, so now the story was meant to be that Airtel, at that time, Airtel was selling real data. And if you look at the definition of real, that means something you can feel, you can touch, you can taste, you can smell. So we applied the idea of the five senses into the real data. So the example I gave was, imagine a boy is in his room playing games, and the parents are in their bedroom, and they hear and everybody ducks under the bed because they think armed robbers. But they didn't want something very violent, so they said we should try something else. So we came up with different scenarios. The boy playing a speed racing game, the air is blowing out of the phone. Someone watching football, out of the jubilation, they splash water, the water comes out of the phone. Another one is, the last one was meant to be, as after this page that we're looking at here, after this frame, the last one was meant to be, as a cheeky situation, a dog is in the salon with the owner, and the owner is looking on her phone. She's checking out a cooking segment on YouTube, and the dog sees the food, and the dog is reacting to the food because the data is so strong that it makes the food look very real. So the dog licks the screen. That was it. It was meant to come after the screen, but the creative director then was a white guy. He told the editor to move the dog scene to the very beginning, and that ruined the entire idea for this story, because typical Nigerians, you are watching TV, then the TV breaks your show into a commercial, and then the commercial shows a dog licking the screen. People are like, wow, this is also not one of my proudest jobs, but I always use it as an example to say, at least I know the lessons I got from this. That means that even to the point of editing, as a creative person, your script is never done. So don't just write your story or write your script and say, okay, creative director, this is my story. You must follow it from the beginning to the end. Because if I was in the editing room when they were doing this, I won't allow them put the dog first. I would allow them put it where it belongs. But hey, I didn't, and it came out like this. And I remember I could see the reaction of people when they were telling me, oh, how do you like? I liked it because they wanted to tell me a good story. But truth is, nobody really liked it. It was a bomb idea. Let me move on. Now, example of what happens when your opportunity falls in the hands of the right person. This speaks for itself.
I would like to see your face again.
Yes. This one is my first daughter. This is my second daughter. It's the one after that. That's my granddaughter there. Oh, she's a handful. She is a handful. What's the matter?
I have never seen my granddaughter.
What's your son's name? John Luca. John Luca. Is that your son? Yes.
Yes. I would like to see your face again. Yeah. Hey, Papa.
Is that you?
I want to see your face.
quick story behind this. So I'm sure we've all seen the ad with the Airtel ad with the Gabriel Afolayan on the beach, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So
Yes, sir.
so basically, in that series, this ad was the second one that came after that one. But in that series, we wrote 65 scripts. You understand? That Gabriel one was number one. This one was the last one. So in between, there are 63 scripts that you people do not get to see. And a lot of people, Nigerians, do not get to see. Because the clients, even when we wrote the Gabriel Afolayan one, it was Nigerians will not understand it. Nigerians will not get it. This one is not working. This one is not good. This is bad. No, we don't like this. This is this. This is this. So we had written so many scripts. Then I was working. That was one of my first jobs with Noah's Ark. And when they had cancelled, in fact, we narrowed down 8. Gabriel's one was number 1. There were 8 that they liked. Then out of the 8, they now said they didn't like 7 anymore. So retaining only the Gabriel's one. So I remember that Sunday we were at work and the client just came and said, all the scripts, the only one I like is the one of the guy on the beach. It's very iconic. I can picture it in my eyes. But all these other ones, we don't like it. So do you have any other stories? And the MD, that's LA, he looked at me and said, guys, what can we do? And I've been telling my creative director, that's Morris Ugwanu, I've been telling Morris that there's this idea, I don't know, but so I shared it with him. But he had told me, just keep it and you never know. So when my MD said, guys, we need to look for one more story, and I said, okay, there's this situation I experienced back, and this one is actually a real life story. So he said, this experience I experienced when I was traveling with my dad. So my dad is a gadget freak. He likes laptops, iPhones, all these things, tablets and all these things. So I remember we were traveling from Lagos to Abuja. And while in the car, and besides being a gadget person, my dad is the kind of person that he would come into any space and try to talk to everybody, try to be friendly with everybody. So I said, okay, so while we were going on our way to Abuja, he was sitting down beside this man. The man, there's this, before the time making phones without keypads, there used to be these organizers back then. One of them is Cassiopeia. So yeah, my dad had the Cassiopeia, and while on the journey, imagine you're in between Jos or Nasarawa, and someone just brings out a Palm Pilot and is pressing it, and it's scroll, and the man beside him started looking like, what's this American Wonder? Me, because I was sitting down adjacent, I could see the action that was going on. I could see the man stretching and looking into my dad's, thing. And, my dad showed him, and the two of them started talking. When they got down from the bus, my dad shook his hand as if they had known each other for a very long time. And that image stuck in my head. So when it was now time, I said, guys, do you have any other idea? We don't like all this story. I said, okay, there's a story I experienced one time. 2 men, they enter a bus, on their way from the east to Lagos. And one of them is a gadget freak. The other one is not a gadget freak. So they spark a conversation. Then the one with the gadget freak learns that the other guy is going to see his grandchildren. And he has never met his grandchildren before. So the one with the gadget now says, oh, come, is your son on Facebook? Let me show you, and throughout that journey, the guy who's not the gadget freak, he uses that journey to learn more about his grandchildren. And is even able to know that his granddaughter, the last child, likes dolls. So they stop at the petrol station to buy a doll. So imagine the man gets to Lagos to meet his grandchildren for the very first time, and is presenting his granddaughter a doll baby. And this baby, when you introduce children to people they don't know, strangers, they will first, recline and say, no, I don't know this person. But the man comes down, hugs everybody, then brings out a doll baby. The girl would fight every urge, but she would go for the Barbie doll, whether she likes it or not. When I narrated the story to the MD, the client, that's the brand manager, he looked at me and said, so where's the script? I said, I've not written it. My MD said, are you crazy? Go and write it. That's a freaking good story. And that's how this story came alive. You understand? Now, if my creative director had not said, hold on to it. It could have been one of the 8 they would have cancelled. But at that moment, there was a desperation to identify with a good story. And luckily, I was blessed enough to be able to see or experience a situation like this that gave birth to this story. There was some polishing that we did in some places, but I bet you, this is one of my proudest works ever, and I would take it as example anyway. But the real creativity for me is the story that gave birth to this ad, and I would say that everything you experience, that cousin that you do not like, that family member, that uncle, nasty uncle that you do not like, that your annoying relative that you do not like, there is a story there. Because when the one about Yarebo, when it came out, my sister called me and said, "You're not serious." Because everything you see in Yarebo, that's my mother exactly. So writing it, I remember what we did was we had the idea, and I just sent mails to my colleagues and said, "Guys, please, I need 10 prayers." Now, when I sent the mails and they sent the prayers to me, we wrote the script and we gave the script to Yarebo. Yarebo did not use any script, any of the prayers that we wrote. She read it, she got the idea, and then she came up with her own unique prayers. That's another example of when your work lands in the hands of a right person. Because, so before you go to the agency, know the people within the agency. Do your research on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram. And also, one of the things, when I was joining Noah's Ark, one of the things, because my MD at Noah's Ark then is a movie person, the creative director is a comic lover, the second creative director is a comic person. So imagine an agency filled with people that love rap music, movies. Me and my MD there, we used to talk about Netflix. Imagine someone that is so exposed that they give you the opportunity to play this adventure. My first day at work, during my interview session before I joined, he asked me one question, and I said, the only thing I think I can bring to this agency is this. Whenever I look at billboards, I see models. But when I look at ads, I still see models. Why don't we switch it up? I studied theater arts, and I know that people that study theater art, we roll with actors a lot. There are actors that are not popular that you can put in your ads. You understand? And because they understand the idea of storytelling, it would be nice to have actors in TV ads, and then you have models on outdoor and in newspaper and in print. And that was the creative license that I was given in the. So whenever we write a script, they always ask me, who do you see visualizing this idea? You understand? And every time it was, Yarebo was, oh, Yarebo will play this one. And everybody was like, oh yeah, that's true. Oh, Gabriel Afolayan was a struggle. But the thing is, what I'm trying to say is that as a creative person, there's no 10% creativity. 20%. You take control, and you take control of your own destiny by making sure that even when you are writing it, try to look at the person that can visualize it. Every good idea can never be rejected by your MD, the client. The minute it's a fantastic idea, everybody will jump on board. So if you hold back because you think you're an intern or you're a new person, you will be doing yourself more harm. Let them say you are forward. You understand? That is, if you have to give your 300% at the same time, give it. Let them say, guys, slow down. It's better for people to say, slow down than say, that guy, they get idea. Don't go and say, no. So if they know that if they give you a mile and you are going to take 500 with your storytelling and your creativity, you will always be that guy that everybody will call. But if you try to be very calm and reserved, you will do yourself more harm than good. So let me see, I think we're almost done. All right, so here is just the tips that you can find online and in the textbooks about approaching a brief. Now, always get in mind that you are to provoke interests. I already mentioned about impact and target audience and your exposure. You need to reveal information. You need to show. Don't just, your story must tell something new. It gives it production quality, it gives it equity. People will say, oh, those guys, they are very creative and they will teach me something new. And you need to inspire action. Next is, from good to great, you need to keep your stories original. even if you have an inspiration. So sometimes art directors go online, they use a Google image. And I remember one of my creative directors used to say that if you're going to take an image from YouTube, from Google, and you're going to put it on a print ad, make sure you add something to it, because what you add to it gives it originality. But if you just copy and paste, that means another brand can also go and copy and paste. Then consistency. This is hard. This is the hardest part here. But if you can set the bar like this, you can set the bar higher. Because that is, if you set the bar like this and you stay on this level every time, creativity, we always get tired of, creative people always get tired after time. So make sure that they know that if you're on this level now, you can raise to this next level and you can always increase your momentum as you go. Be consistent with your creativity. Always make sure that you are on the new trend, you're on the new idea, you're on everything. Then clarity. Clarity in personality, that is, you must let them know what you stand for. Let them know that, oh, this person can be adventurous, this person is reserved, this person is this person is that. But the most of all, clarity is, I see your message, I get the point. I shouldn't watch your ad and say, what were they trying to say? You understand? You must get the idea and sell it immediately. Then completeness. Let them know that if you are dropping, when you read the brief, you have an idea for TV, radio, print, online. You might not be a digital marketing person, but you can have a suggestion that can translate into digital marketing. You might not be an activation person, but you can have an idea that can generate activation ideas. Let them know that there is something about you that can cross the border into the next person's terrain. That's how you will know that you are even complete and a half. You become more valuable to everybody in your industry and yourself in particularly. Then focus on relevance, keep to the point, collaborate with your designers. My God, sometimes copywriters used to think designers don't have ideas. Meanwhile, designers are intelligent people that don't have the access to put their ideas into words. What the copywriter has over the designer is the ability to translate that visual into text. But sometimes some designers are so brilliant, you understand, that they grow beyond the copywriter to become much more. So never take your designing partner or your art director for granted. Focus on your point and always focus on relevance. Relevance to the society, relevance to your trend, relevance to what's going on. Then, when planning your script, most of the work is with the planning, which means you must always embrace your strategy person. Be with the person, link up with the person. When they are developing the strategy idea, go and sit down with them, talk to them, discuss. Because once you have all the ideas in your head, the remaining 25% just go and write it down. Sometimes the magic happens here, 80%. The remaining is just 20, how you write it down. Then, lastly, creativity is intelligence having fun. I don't know if it was truly Albert Einstein that said it, but I've seen this too many times to believe that it was Albert Einstein that said, I don't know, because I got this from the internet, I don't know how true it is, but I believe that creativity is intelligence having fun. Once you're intelligent in every field, culturally, traditionally, religiously, personally, once you can be intelligent in that focus, when it comes to creativity, all you just need to do is take 2% from here, take 3% from here, push them together. Before you know it, you are creative. And these are my details. I'm going to share this document so that you can get some of the references and all that. And thank you for listening to my TED talk.